Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about using information about measurement systems to help us make smart decisions and to rationalize about measurements, okay? How to draw conclusions and figure things out about measurements, just taking what we already know, okay? One thing that we already know is that the centimeter is the size of our pinky, and that another small unit of measure is the inch, which is the size of the knuckle to the tip of the thumb. Now I'm going to put my hand up like this so you can see those two measurements side by side. You can see that this little centimeter and you can see this inch, okay? Which one is bigger? Think for a second. The inch is a bigger standard measurement than the centimeter, okay? So let's talk about if we were to use these units to measure something, what conclusions we can draw about how many inches we might need to use compared to how many centimeters we might need to use, okay? We're going to start out with these magnets. Okay, I'm going to hook these two magnets together so I have a bigger chunk to measure, okay? If I use centimeters to measure this chunk of magnets, I'm going to have to use my pinky, right? The small width of my pinky. And I'm going to have to see how many times my pinky will be put alongside that magnet to tell me a total length of that magnet. Okay, so let's just try that. So I've got my pinky, and I don't have a centimeter ruler home with me, those red ones we've been using in class. So I'm just going to use my pinky, and that's cool because we know that a pinky is a very, very good way of estimating. It's about how big a centimeter is, okay? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have about 11 pinkies, which we know are centimeters, when I measured this. Now, what if I want to measure the same exact thing in inches instead? This is where we have to really think, okay? We can make an estimate about how many inches it might take to measure this magnet, and then we're going to compare that to how many centimeters it took to measure it. Okay, so we know that centimeters are smaller. So we know that it took 11 of them to measure up this length. Okay, if I use my inch to measure now, my inch measurement is bigger. So I have to think about whether it would take more inches, more than 11, to measure this, or whether it would take the same, or whether it would take less, okay? Well, if it took the same, let's write that down. Let's write for a second. More, same, or less. Okay, and this is because we're going to measure in inches now. Okay? Let's talk about same first. If we were going to measure this magnet with our thumb, and it was going to be 11 too, then that makes me think that the thumb measurement, the inch measurement, is exactly the same as my centimeter measurement. We already know that's not right. We know that the thumb, just by looking at the two together, we can, just with our eyeballs, without even holding them right next to each other, we can tell that this is bigger than this. It's actually quite a bit bigger, okay? So we can eliminate the question we had about them being the same right away. Not the same. In fact, let's just erase that. Let's take that out of there. We know that inches are not going to measure this at 11. It's going to be a number that's different, okay? Is it going to take more inches to measure that magnet? Well, let's see. This is bigger, so it's going to cover up more space with each inch. See how my thumb is covering from the bottom all the way up to the tip of my thumb? But look at how much my pinky covered. He only covered this much. So I'm thinking that if I know my inch is bigger, 1 inch is going to take up more room than just 1 centimeter. What does that mean? Well, if this 1 inch covers all the way, in fact, let me mark my other thumb. It'll be easier for me to show you what I'm trying to explain. There. If that 1 inch covers from here to here, then I don't have very much further to go to finish my measuring. So maybe it won't take as many thumbs, inches, to measure this as it took centimeters, because this didn't cover much room. I needed a lot of these to fill this up. 11, okay? So I'm thinking maybe more. I'm thinking maybe less, sorry. It might take less thumbs because each thumb is bigger and covers more space, okay? But I need to really test this theory out to find out for sure. So we're going to use that estimating with our finger again. We're going to put our thumb right here. See how my line on my knuckle is lined up with the bottom of the magnet for my 0 start for measuring. So I've got 1 thumb. I'm going to mark where the tip of my thumb was. Move the line up to that mark. 2 inches. Mark it. About 3 inches. Okay? It only took 3 inches to measure this, but it took 11 centimeters to measure it. So was that more or was that less? We said it took 3 inches. Oh, I think my marker might be done. We're going to pretend there's a 3 there. 3 inches, okay? Is 3 more or less than 11? It's less. We can take away our question mark because we are answering it. Take away the word more because we eliminated that as a choice. 3 inches is less than 11 centimeters. So if we use the inch to measure this, we wouldn't have to use as many of them as if we used a centimeter to measure it. Now, does that mean that this measurement and this and this measured 2 different things? No. This is how many inches this measured, and this is how many centimeters it measured. We measured the same item, but when we measured, what we changed is the units of measure. The inch was a bigger unit of measure, so it took less of them. The centimeter is a smaller unit of measure, so it took more of them to measure the magnet. This comparison can be used with other parts of our measuring systems. We know the next group of inches is the foot, and the next group of centimeters is a decimeter. We could compare those too when we're measuring bigger objects to see which one would take more. The pattern will stay the same. Because decimeters are made up of centimeters, which are smaller, it will take more decimeters than feet to measure one item, okay? The same item. Same thing with meter and yard. The comparison is the same within the 2 systems.